Kern Valley State Prison would first open its doors in 2005 and houses approximately 3,000 minimum, medium, and high security custody inmates. At approximately 7:18 p.m. on June 24, 2022, officers would respond when inmates Adrian Gurrola and Esteban Ceja began attacking another inmate by the name of Hector Jimenez. And although the attack was stopped by officers and Jimenez was taken to the prison's triage and treatment area, Hector Jimenez would be pronounced deceased at 7:27 p.m.
17 homicide tracker tonight. Officials at Kern Valley State Prison in Wasco are investigating the death of an inmate as a homicide after an alleged attack last night. Officers say they found two inmates identified as Adrian Gurrola and Esteban Ceja attacking 35-year-old Hector Jimenez in his cell just after 7 o'clock in the evening. Jimenez was rushed to the prison's treatment center but was pronounced dead at the scene about a half hour later. Law enforcement says they found a weapon made by an inmate inside that cell. Ceja, one of the alleged attackers, was already serving a life sentence.
A major presence in the Central Valley. X marks the spot in southwest Fresno's back alleys. Gang wars playing out on the streets, announced by graffiti.
X3 signifies 13, which is the number associated with Surenos.
The Gang of the South is creeping north, according to federal agents, and marking its territory in areas formerly controlled and graffitied by bulldogs and norteños.
They decay neighborhoods from the inside out. They make it unsafe in a lot of areas for kids to go outside and play.
Homeland Security investigators took note and took action. Fresno, in Sanger, and in the rest of the valley. They went into Sureno strongholds and looked for reasons to make arrests. A warrant for destruction of property got this alleged Sureno locked up. And similar scenes played out across the country. The Department of Justice says Sureno membership is expanding faster than any other gang in the country. Murder, extortion, and drugs are their currency. Project Southbound is the response, the largest operation of its kind by Homeland Security. Federal agents arrested more than 600 people with Sureno ties. Most of them now face criminal charges. The rest are being deported. If nothing else, the gang is on alert, and police are watching them.
The Surenos are a significant criminal organization. They're a transnational gang that's a priority of HSI and law enforcement in general.
The Surenos originally formed in Southern California, but they have spread all across the country.
Last year, gangs killed 452 people in Los Angeles County alone. These gangs are spreading out from Los Angeles into communities across the state. 10 years ago, youth gangs were a problem handled by local law enforcement. Today, gangs are a statewide problem, an issue of major concern to the California legislature. 10 years ago, parents thought, not my neighborhood, not my kid. Today, gangs are active in communities all across California. Street gangs are not a new phenomenon in California. They've been here since the turn of the century. What is new is the increasing violence associated with gangs and the growing numbers of kids who are involved.
In the state of California today, it's estimated there's over 2,000 active gangs in the state now. Compared to 10 years ago, there was approximately 765 active gangs. It's estimated that 70,000 gang members in Los Angeles County alone.
In the past 10 years, we've seen the gangs trade in their knives and zip guns for Uzis and AK-47s. And now many have turned away from burglary and theft to take up the more lucrative business of dealing drugs.
The gangs that come in now are more sophisticated and more violent. And I think that stems from the neighborhood and the sign of the times. Now you have more money on the street, you got more drugs on the street, you got more weapons on the street, and we're getting those kind of individuals into the youth authority.
Who are these gangs? In California, there are almost as many different youth gangs as there are different ethnic groups. And while these gangs may differ in their choice of crimes and victims, their choice of drugs and weapons, the children who get involved in these gangs have much in common.
In the state of California, the largest number of gangs that we have are Hispanic gangs. They have escalated throughout the state, and they generally are more turf-oriented. They're involved in more crimes of identity and defending the name of the turf versus crimes against the general public. They're involved in drug use, but not to the point of openly selling drugs as other gang groups have now developed in sellings of drugs.
When I really got into it, I was about 11 years old. I was in 5th grade, and my whole family was involved in gangs. My mother, my father. I got 8 sisters and 5 brothers, which were all involved in gangs. And it was just the way of life for me. You know, I was raised around it, in drugs and violence. You know, watching my brother and his homeboys out on the street fighting.
You know, it's all it takes is a look. You know what I mean? What you looking at? What you look? Well, let's go. And then before you know it, bottles are thrown, knives are being pulled out, guns, jacks. You know, and you just get it on. You know, and go for it. And wherever comes out hurt, comes out hurt.
I've been shot once and stabbed 3 times.
And they come by and shoot our houses up, and we go by and shoot theirs. They want to play that, well, let's play it. You know, and there's times my mom had to sleep on the floor all the time. You know, all the time. You know, and boom, 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 and we go back and. They want to do us, we'll do them right now. Let's go move on their pad. Boom, boom, boom. There'll be times when they come driving to our house, we'll be waiting on the roof. Da, 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 and just hit them, Jack. Just tires flat and the windows busted out. They go driving down the road, flat tires, you know.
Drugs, auto theft, robbing houses, armed robbery, things like that, to get money for guns and drugs and et cetera, et cetera. It was mostly the older ones would have the younger ones do it. You know, because they figured, well, if you're a youngster, you could try as a juvenile, you won't do as much time as we will, you know, because we'll go to the state penitentiary and, you know, and so forth. I did a lot of that stuff too, breaking into houses, robbing liquor stores and things like that.
Filipino gangs in the state of California have also increased in numbers. In the late 70s, the most active were in the Bay Area. And now we have had an escalation of Filipino gang activity in Los Angeles County and in the Bay Area again. They will assault one another, strictly more identity as to their gang identity than turf. They don't specifically defend a particular turf as more gang identity than anything else. They are involved in crimes, the use of drugs, but primarily as all incidents are over identity.
We pulled up into the city and we found them at this phone booth, and we rolled up there and we got out and they started shooting at us, and I got out the car. My victim, I guess Villa, ran up to the car and I shot him and killed him.
The other group that has been very active is the Filipinos and the BNG. BNG is doing a lot of graffiti. They're doing a lot of feuding with each other, shootings, etc., assaults, and that seems to be true almost all over Northern California.
When, like, you do crimes to impress your peers in the gang, you know, you get a little more respect as time goes on, and eventually build you up to the status of an OG or original gangster.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back. Another episode of Green Lit Gang TV. Much love, much appreciation. Thank you guys so much for checking out the channel today. Really quick, if you are new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you do like, you know, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, go check out previous content. We've been around for a little over a year and a half. I really, truly think you'll enjoy some of my past work. If you are a returning person to this channel, someone who supported the channel for however long, then you already know how much it means to me. And once again, thank you for your continued support. And lastly, if you like what you see, if you like what you hear, hit the like button, leave a comment, engage in some conversation, and lastly, subscribe. Again, thank you guys, and let's jump right into it. Okay, so Kern Valley State Prison in Delano, California, like we said in the intro, would first open its doors in 2005. Houses all the way from minimum up to high security custody inmates. Now, this attack happened a few years ago. We're keeping with the same theme that we've been on so far in 2025, and that is covering the absolute chaos and mayhem that has plagued the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. We are showing that the California prison model that was adopted from the Norwegian prison model does not work. There's absolute chaos going on in there. I forgot the last time I checked the body count, what that was. A guy by the name of Hector Bravo has an awesome channel. He keeps a running tally on his channel, so I encourage you guys to go check that out. I think it was like at 76, 77. I forget how far back it goes, but the point is, Jeff McCumber, the head of the CDCR, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, what they have implemented and what they have forced down basically everybody's throats within the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. It's a joke. It's 100% not working, and it's being shown to not work. And if you have a loved one who is an inmate or someone who works within the prison, they are at risk. Every single day, they are at risk, morning through night. I encourage you, do your research, check it out, watch my channel, watch other channels. You'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, let's jump right into this here. This is an article from the CDCR's website that was on June 25th, 2022, a day after the attack. Kern Valley State Prison officials are investigating the death of Hector Jimenez as a homicide after he was attacked by 2 other incarcerated individuals on June 24th. At approximately 7:18 p.m., officers responded when inmates Adrian Gurrola and Esteban Ceja allegedly attacked Jimenez in a day room. Jimenez was taken to the prison's triage and treatment area for treatment of injuries he sustained from the attack and summoned an ambulance. However, he was pronounced deceased at 7:27 p.m., so he died within 9 minutes of that attack. That's one of the quicker deaths I've seen on here. Sadly, these guys only seem to survive for around 35, 45, maybe an hour. But when these gang members of all different gangs, when they come at these guys, they absolutely know what they are doing and how to do it. And they are effective when they try to kill somebody. So he passes away. Officers recovered 1 inmate manufactured weapon. But like I said, there were 2 attackers, Adrian Gurrola and Esteban Ceja. I'm assuming there was probably more than 1 weapon if I had to guess. Jimenez, 35, our victim, was admitted to CDCR from San Diego County on March 17th, 2015 to serve a 26-year sentence for voluntary manslaughter with the use of a firearm and commission of a street gang act. Officials have limited inmate movement on the yard to facilitate the investigation being conducted by Kern Valley State Prison's Investigative Services Unit, the Kern County District Attorney's Office, and the Kern County Coroner. The Office of the Inspector General was notified, and the Kern County Coroner will determine Jimenez's cause of death. Now, really quick, these guys are Surenos gang members. Hector Jimenez, he's from San Diego. He got in on a manslaughter charge with the gang enhancement. Now, I was able to find some really good background on Esteban Ceja. He goes by the name of Clown. We're going to get into that in just a second, right after we're done talking about Ceja's crimes that got him in with the California Department of Corrections, and Gurrola's, what his crimes got him into the California Department of Corrections. Basically, these guys are convicted murderers. They're both from LA County. Ceja, 29, was admitted to CDCR back on October 1st, 2018 from Los Angeles County to serve a life with parole sentence for second-degree murder with intentional use of a firearm causing great bodily injury and or death, and attempted second-degree murder with discharge of a firearm and commission of a street gang act. While incarcerated, Ceja was sentenced in Los Angeles County to serve an additional 3-year sentence for assault with force likely to produce great bodily injury and inflicting great bodily injury as a second striker. Gurrola, 31, was admitted to CDCR on August 24th, 2009 from Los Angeles County to serve a life with parole sentence for first-degree murder. His case is really crazy. 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder, cruelty to animals, and then I kind of was able to read into it a little bit. They didn't give a bunch of information, but he kills his victim, and then he kills his victim's dog, which made me all the more mad. I didn't really get annoyed or upset till I read that part. I don't know why, that just really bothered me. Why you got to kill the dog? Assault with a deadly weapon in commission of a street gang act and inflicting great bodily injury. While incarcerated, Gurrola was sentenced to an additional 3 years from Kern County for carrying a concealed dirk or dagger. This is the run of the mill. This is what happens. You go to prison, especially with these guys, because they're on these long sentences. I mean, Jimenez had the shortest sentence, our victim in this case, to do 26 years for voluntary manslaughter with the gang enhancements. They're going to stay active. They're going to get down in there. They're going to be committing crimes. In the case of Gurrola, he gets caught with carrying a dirk or a dagger. Of course they are. They have to, because things like this attack that we saw take place on Jimenez, it could just as easily have taken place on Ceja. It could have just as easily taken place on Gurrola. At any minute, a switch can flip, and you're done. You're over. Your life is a wrap. And like I just said a couple minutes ago, they know how to kill you in here. There's weapons hidden everywhere. They know where to stab you. And you got to think, these guys have nothing but time to figure out, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to get him? What's the best place to get him? And what's the best place to get him? And where we're going to stab him, where we're going to attack him, so he does not get back up. It's war. It's war behind bars, and it's something that these gangs and these gang members focus on day in and day out. Okay, so like I said, Esteban Ceja, his background. Now, he goes by the name of Clown. He's from a Sureno gang set known as Vadio DNA from 73rd. Now, DNA, drugs and alcohol gang. They beef with a lot of different Sureno cliques. He beefed with Florencia 13. This is an article from September 30th of 2015. He was responsible actually for killing a 15-year-old Latino gang member. And reading into this, basically, this 15-year-old, he's 15, first of all, and he is simply crossing out Vadio DNA's graffiti. He gets caught up crossing out some graffiti, and he loses his life over it. So this is an article from the LA Times. It's like they basically have within their news system, it's like notice of a death, right? Francisco Batista, a 15-year-old Latino, died Wednesday, September 23rd, after being shot in Florence, according to Los Angeles County Coroner's records. Shortly after 4:30 p.m., Francisco was in an alley with a 19-year-old friend, according to police. The two were allegedly spray painting a wall when a gunman walked up and began shooting at the two. The friend managed to run away, but Francisco was struck and killed. It's really sad. Now, I found the other article. A little more information. This fast forwards to April 4th, 2016. A 23-year-old man has been arrested and charged with fatally shooting a 15-year-old boy, a killing triggered by the victim spraying graffiti in a rival gang's territory, authorities allege. So, he's in Clown, Esteban Ceja's territory. And, he's got a spray paint. He's 15, so you just got to figure, man, he's a kid. He's 15 years old. But at the same time, some people might say, hey, man, he knows better. He's probably active with his own gang. I wasn't able to find out Francisco's, what gang he belonged to. But he's crossing out DNA, Vadio DNAs from 73rds. Whatever they spray painted, whatever they had on their wall, it upset Esteban Ceja to the point where he feel like he needed to shoot Francisco and his 19-year-old friend. I did put up some pictures of some DNA gang members, some of their graffiti, give you guys kind of a look. They're just a Sureno clique. They're from LA. It said they beef with Florencia 13, which is one of the biggest Sureno cliques like in the nation. I thought that was really interesting. They are a small Sureno clique. Make no mistake. Every time I Googled that gang, there's some smaller pages showing their graffiti, showing some of their members. But when you Google Vadio DNA 73rd, like just type in that with gang member, it's going to bring you to Esteban Ceja. So, a 23-year-old man was arrested and charged with fatally shooting a 50-year-old boy, a killing triggered by the victim spraying graffiti in a rival gang's territory, authorities allege. Esteban Ceja was arrested in El Paso on March 20th, said LAPD detective Chris Barling. He was transported to California, so he's arrested in El Paso, Texas. Transported to California and booked into Los Angeles jail on March 30th. Remember, this is 2016. During the afternoon of September 23rd, 2015, Ceja, a member of the DNA Drugs and Alcohol street gang, spotted 15-year-old Francisco Batista tagging a wall with paint in an alley near Ceja's home at Broadway and Florence Avenue, according to an affidavit filed in federal court. Police allege that Ceja opened fire, striking Batista and a 19-year-old man who was nearby. Batista died from his injuries, but the other man recovered. Witnesses identified the shooter as Ceja, who has very distinctive facial tattoos, according to the affidavit written by FBI Special Agent Scott Gurrola. Hours after the killing, police searched Ceja's family home and other addresses associated with him, but could not locate him. In November, after the LA County District Attorney's Office filed 2 felony charges against Ceja for murder and attempted murder, prosecutors, basically they came to the FBI and said, hey, we need your help tracking him down. We feel like he's left the area and possibly left the state. Investigators conducted electronic surveillance of the suspect's friends and family, eventually finding a phone with an Arizona area code that was being used in El Paso. The calling patterns of the phone were nearly identical to the phone previously used by Ceja. Ceja, also known as Payaso or Clown, is being held in LA County Jail in lieu of a $3.04 million bail. And if convicted, he faces up to life in state prison. So he does get convicted. He doesn't slow down. He remains active. And 6 years later, he went in in 2018, but 6 years later from this initial killing of Francisco Batista, he finds himself killing Hector Jimenez, another Sureno gang member. It's crazy. It's sad. A little bit of a shorter one today, but I love cranking these guys out for you. I like cranking these videos out. You guys seem to really enjoy them. You seem to really like them. You like the consistency with which I upload. I'm getting good feedback on that. So at the end of the day, as long as you guys like it, I'm going to keep doing it. So once again, thank you. And until next time, you already know what it is. Peace.